You still have their hoodie. You're not getting back together. You haven't worn it in months. If someone handed you that exact hoodie in a store right now, you wouldn't even try it on. But when a friend asked if you wanted to donate it last week, something in you said no. Not loudly, just no. And if you're honest, you can't fully explain why. Here's what's strange. That feeling isn't unique to breakups. It shows up when you're selling your old car and the first offer makes you irrationally angry. It shows up when you've been meaning to quit your job for 2 years, but something keeps stopping you. It shows up every time you hold on to something that isn't making your life better, simply because letting go of it feels like losing. Your brain has a habit. The moment something becomes yours, an object, a relationship, a position, a plan, it quietly inflates the value. Not based on what the thing is worth, based on the fact that it's yours. Economists call it the endowment effect. And once you understand how it works, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Richard Thaler first documented it in the 1980s. He would become one of the most influential behavioral economists alive, eventually winning the Nobel Prize. But the experiment that launched this particular idea was almost comically simple. He gave one group of participants a coffee mug. He gave another group nothing. Then he asked the mug owners what they'd sell for and asked the non-owners what they'd pay. The gap was immediate and consistent. Sellers wanted roughly twice what buyers were willing to pay. Same mug, same room, same moment. The only variable was ownership, and ownership had silently doubled the price. Thaler ran variations of this across different objects, different countries, different demographics. The result held. The moment something belonged to you, your brain assigned it a value premium that had nothing to do with the market, the condition of the object, or any rational calculation you could point to. But why does this happen? The answer runs deeper than economics. It lives in loss aversion, a pattern documented by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, whose work Thaler built directly on. Their finding? Losses feel approximately twice as powerful as equivalent gains. Losing $50 hurts about twice as much as gaining $50 feels good. Your brain is not neutral. It is wired to treat losing something as a significantly bigger event than acquiring the same thing. So when you own something and someone offers to take it off your hands, your brain doesn't experience that as a neutral trade. It experiences it as a potential loss. And because losses carry twice the psychological weight of gains, you demand a price that compensates, not just for the object's value, but for the emotional cost your brain has already attached to giving it up. You're not being irrational for no reason. You're running ancient software that was designed to protect what you already have. The problem is that software doesn't distinguish between your ancestors protecting their food supply and you refusing a reasonable offer on a car you don't drive anymore. Here's where it gets stranger. The endowment effect doesn't require years of ownership. It doesn't even require payment. Thaler and researcher Ziv Carmon studied Duke University students who had entered a lottery for Final Four basketball tickets. Students who won the lottery valued their tickets at over $2,000 on average. Students who entered the same lottery and lost valued the same tickets at around $170. Same seat, same game, same night. The only difference was which side of a random lottery outcome they landed on. The winners didn't reason their way to $2,000. Their brain got there automatically the moment the ticket became theirs. Ownership had taken hold in minutes, maybe seconds, and the pricing had already happened beneath conscious thought. This matters because it means you cannot wait until something is really yours to feel this effect. It arrives almost immediately. Which is why a free trial that converts to a subscription works. Why a salesperson lets you hold the product before discussing price. Why a real estate agent encourages you to imagine your furniture in a home before you've made an offer. They are not manipulating you with tricks. They are triggering a cognitive process that your brain initiates on its own the moment it registers possession. Back to the hoodie. What you are holding on to isn't fabric. It's a future your brain had already claimed. The plans, the assumptions about what weekends would look like, who would be there for the things that mattered. Those became yours before they fully existed. And when the relationship ended, your brain didn't just register the loss of a person, it registered the loss of everything it had already priced in and called its own. This is why breakups feel disproportionate to the time you actually knew someone. You aren't only grieving what was, you're grieving the version of the future your brain had already taken ownership of. And because loss aversion is wired into how you process experience, you hold on. Not because holding on helps, but because releasing it feels, neurologically, like having something taken from you. The hoodie stays in the drawer. The same mechanism runs through every negotiation. Both parties arrive having already mentally owned the outcome they want. The seller has a number their brain treats as the baseline, not because the market supports it, but because it became theirs before the conversation started. The buyer has a number they consider fair for the same reason. Neither number is objective. Both are inflated by the endowment effect on each side. This is why negotiations stall even when both parties want a deal. It's not because anyone is being dishonest. It's because both people are experiencing the gap between their expectation and what they're being offered as a loss. And losses are twice as heavy. Every concession feels like something being taken, not something being exchanged. Researchers have found that simply reframing a concession as avoiding a loss rather than achieving a gain changes whether people accept it. The outcome is mathematically identical. The psychological experience is not. And the psychology is what drives the decision. Here is the part most people never get to. The endowment effect doesn't protect you. It costs you. You keep the mug you never use. You stay in the role that stopped fitting 3 years ago. You hold the investment that has fallen 30% because selling it would make the loss feel real in a way that watching the number decline does not. You let a negotiation collapse because the concession required felt like theft, even though accepting would have made you better off. You are not protecting value. You are protecting the feeling of not losing. Those are not the same thing. Thaler was careful to note that simply knowing about this bias does not make you immune to it. Awareness is not a cure. The effect runs below the level where conscious reasoning has easy access. Even economists who study it full-time report feeling it. But naming it changes something. Not because the feeling disappears, but because you gain the ability to question it. The next time letting go feels like theft, the next time you hold a position longer than the evidence supports, or stay somewhere past the point it makes sense, or feel insulted by an offer that the math says is fair, you can ask one question. Is this actually worth what my brain says it's worth? Or did my brain set that price the moment I called it mine? The hoodie is just a hoodie. You already knew that. Now you know why it's so hard to act like it.